Hello, Raleigh. This is Whitney for Raleigh. I want to talk to you about our city budget, and I think it's appropriate to do that right now. I believe the budget is going to be presented to the city council any day now. And I want to just dispel some maybe misconceptions that people probably have about how this process works. Of course, we see what happens up on the national basis or up on the state basis, and generally that budget is delivered over to our House and Senate at the federal level, and same thing at the state level. And they generally don't really know what's in there. They have a number and maybe some summary that tells them what's in there, and they got to vote up and down on it. We know how that sort of goes there. Well, strangely enough, the city budget is very similar. That budget gets delivered over to the city council, and they don't really have any kind of time to really pick it apart or look at it. And in fact, the way it generally works is that the budget is presented and it is looked at. They, I guess by major category, but in general, you can pretty much count on the fact that most things are going to be increased. There's going to be a standard increase that goes in, and then there is a discussion on maybe some of the new things that are put in there. And they really don't have any real time to go in and do any kind of really analysis on it. So generally, that budget is for the most part being dictated by the city administration. And the city council votes up or down on it. And to vote down on it, you'd have to have a really good reason. And that's probably not easy to see and to justify, in that you're not allowed to really go in and dig into that budget, understand exactly what's in there. Now, this is interesting to me because, by and large, our city is really ruled by the city administration. The city council, I'm sure they'd be the first to admit this, are more of a board of directors group. They can pass laws, but there's even some restrictions on that. One of the noteworthy things is, and this is going to vary city from city, but our city mayor has very little power. She is able to run the meetings, but other than that, she is basically another vote on the city council, a vote of 8 people, and she or he. And so it's in some cities that mayor, like the president of the United States or the governor of North Carolina, actually has some power to administrate. The mayor of Raleigh doesn't have that power, and they don't have the power to fire, or the city council you have to get 5 votes out of the 8 if you were going to fire someone. So generally, that leaves the city manager with having a great deal of power. And I would be inclined to say that you would not see a city, it would be very difficult to fire a city manager. It'd have to be something pretty colossal to get 5 votes to be able to do that. So I just want to put that in perspective for you. And then you have the city administration putting together a budget. You have a part-time city council. It's not really allowed any type of real time to pick that apart and to get into it. So those are just components here, as we're looking at what's going on with our federal government and everything. Uh, we don't have the opportunity to do, let's say, a Doge on it. um, so, and some people may not be real happy with Doge, but I think you generally have to look at it and say, if there's corruption, it's good to see that that's all being dismantled and being taken part of. In any case, getting back to the city of Raleigh, So we have a budget that goes up each year. Our taxes have been steadily climbing. And you would think as the city grows, yeah, there's going to be some growing pains. We may have to do bonds for capital budget to be able to keep up with the growth and be able to develop and reach newer communities that are going up. But we definitely aren't getting any kind of economies of scale. For instance, our police force has been the same budgeted number of 850 or less for over 20 years. And yet we're finally giving our police officers a raise. We've got them up to the budgeted number. But I think most people concede now that we need to have 1,000 or even 1,200 or even 1,400 police officers to properly be able to police a city of this size. And we've seen crime going up. I just watched um, Janet Cowell's State of the Union message, our mayor, and it was good to see housing is being addressed. I don't think we're anywhere at the rate that we need to be able to keep up with the growth here of affordable housing. And we need people living in affordable housing here because we need service workers. And if they can't afford to live in the city, they're just going to move somewhere else or move into a tent. And uh, I guess the claim is that our crime's been good. I don't think that's really the case. The numbers I've looked at, our murder rate has gone up some, and our overall crime rate has gone up. I have seen things better in North Raleigh. I don't think we're getting as many car break-ins, but at the end of the day, we need to have a healthy police force because criminals, you don't just overnight get this big wave of crime going. Once criminals, you develop that element because they figure out that they can get away with it. It is pretty hard to. Then you got to come in, and when you finally do get the police officers you need to turn around and pull it back. So in any case, I guess my question is we ought to be getting economies of scale, and yet our taxes keep going up, and we, double the size of a civic center, and that money should have been allocated uh, out of maybe sales tax or hotel taxes, but yet the public is burdened with those bonds. We got to move Red Hat Center, and we got the taxes from that. That's to me is just one glaring example of how we are spending more money. Another one is the leaf pickup is being taken away. I mean, we're down to, I understand we're down to one leaf pickup, and yet I don't understand that how city services get taken away and the taxes keep going up. Well, the main reason this video is tell you I don't think the city council has really they have the facade of power to do something about that and manage the budget, but they really aren't able to or aren't doing that. That management is being done by the city administration, and basically uh, that's where it's being done. And so I bring all this up to say that in the Indie magazine, I just read a short article in there that Durham is going to a zero-based budgeting. Now, I guess Durham right now is basically having their tax receipts cut back because of economic activity in there. I'm not sure what the whole story is on that. But Durham, of all places, is basically going to a zero-based budgeting. And I really wonder, I don't know if Raleigh needs to go all the way to that, but we need to go to some type of system to be able to break down what's going on in our budget. Are we doing cost of living raises for all the basic stuff? Are we indexing our taxes that we need to take in with the amount of growth? We need to do something here because To me, I think what we're acquiring is more and more special interest growth in particular areas that the general tax population is having to cover. Because as the city grows, yes, the overall budget is going to be going up and it's going to be paid for by new taxpayers coming into the area. And the economic activity that happens with sales taxes coming in and right now, we're taking in more and more tax money simply because real estate is artificially being overvalued because of the housing shortage. So I'd like for us to take a look at that and see what we can do, uh, and see if we can get more power in with the city council. As for the fact that the mayor's office is defined like it is, I think that's too bad. I'd really like to see us have a more powerful mayor that actually had executive power over our city. And that's not going to be an easy thing to happen because my understanding is that by state law, the way we have it set up is the way you have to do it in North Carolina. And there's not anything that we can do about that. Well, there is. We can go lobby for it up at the state level. And I'd like to maybe see something like that happen. That is something pretty big, I guess. But by and large, the problem is that the people who are actually making the decisions on the budget and managing the city are not the city council folks who have a certain level of oversight, but they don't really have the power they need to do that. So we're electing officials in, and they've got limited power. And the folks, it seems like the balance of power to me is over with the city administration. And we don't elect those people. Similar up to Washington, D.C., we don't elect the bureaucrats up there, and they're supposed to be working for us. And that means that they're working for the people who we elect to go up there. Whether you agree with those elections or not, those are the people that the population, the elected officials, that the population is sending into these positions, and they ought to have the bulk of the power to be able to control the bureaucracy. So that's what I think. My name's Whitney Hill, Whitney for Raleigh. I appreciate you listening to this message.